the first thing I want to do is I want to thank all of you who put comments and questions in the chat last week. And I know I answered a lot of them actually in the session, but I thank you for that. And I thank you for those of you who wrote to me and sent me emails. It's very, very helpful. And I do hope I got back to all of you. If I didn't, my apologies, but I will try to respond to every email, every question, every concern, whatever. And Beth Newberry, who's not here yet, but that's okay, she wrote to me and wrote some questions which I thought were really interesting. Now I'm looking for them. Here they are. And worth sharing with you. Her questions and my responses, and I thought I would just share those with you because you may find them interesting as well. She said, the interactions are powerful, and I like how your questioning brings us to question the truth. Now, that whole idea of questioning the truth is really interesting because it's true during the interrogation. Many times I will question the veracity or the truth or the honesty of the character, even though I know what they're telling may be the truth. My response to her is, this is the way to really get to the truth. What appears to be true may only be a doorway or a portal to the truth. So by questioning the truth, what I'm going for is a deeper truth if I can find it. Her next observation has to do with the shifts, in the character and my noticing, which I mentioned last time, and I pointed them out to you, a shift in the character. I think it was with Rob, who was playing Lister, a shift or a change. And she said, when I notice the shift in the character, do you know, when I notice it, she's asking me, do you know if the character is thinking of something like what they want to say, or do you think it's the natural remembering before they answer? I mean, it's a good question. And I really don't have an answer to that. I mean, I don't know what it is. What I wrote back to Beth is, at the moment during the interrogation, I just notice the shift. The shift simply means I have stirred up something inside or something is being formed. Either way, it is a shift. I can't stop and contemplate the why or the what. All I can do is choose to either open that door to discover what is lurking inside, or let it go and move on to the next shift. By the way, these shifts in the character, these are visible signs in the characters. These shifts happen on almost every response from the characters. There's an abundance of doors to be opened if you choose. Now, this gets into opening doors, and almost every question, there's another door that comes up, which may be just something you observe in the character. Her next observation. I liked how you explained why you asked about the decision about them getting married. Her question is, when you implied that something went wrong, which I did, do you find that this is always followed up by the actors, or will some actors go against it, being that it's only a suggestion? My response is, they will almost always follow it, as you say. Think of it this way. My suggesting a problem or something wrong is me presenting a door for them to open if they want to. I have yet had a situation where they treat it lightly. Some characters fear opening that door, and that by itself is interesting and worthy of exploration. Remember, interrogation of a character presents a never-ending series of doors, and behind each door is another world of more doors. And the last thing that Beth mentioned here, she says, it's interesting how Lester comes across as rejected and bitter at times near the end. I saw a big shift. This is Beth writing. I saw a big shift in the character's connection, and all in such a little period of time, but a natural process that already becomes engaging as well as informative. And my response to that is, those are the shifts and changes in the characters that we are looking for. We don't design them. We open doors to discover them. Now, when I say we don't design them, designing is traditional directing. Here's what I want. Here's the shift I want. Here's the change I want. Here's the alteration or transformation in the character I want. That's designing it. What I'm doing is coming at it from a whole nother way. It's through the interrogation. I open up doors, hoping to discover these shifts. And so the shifts that she saw and that you saw last week in the characters were authentic. They weren't designed. They weren't manufactured by either me or by the actors or the characters in any way. Okay, so that's it. So I want to thank Beth. I don't know if she's here yet. So I hope you're all doing well. Here's what we're going to do this week. Last week, as you know, we looked at the interrogation process and we looked at how a simple shift or change in my interrogation, in my attitude, my point of view, my tone, the subject matter, how that shift or change with the characters would shift the characters. I mean, the most dramatic thing I did was going from the contentious Carolyn and Lester and how they are disappointed at each other and fighting each other, which we established very easily, and then shifting because of building the history. Now, building the history changed it a little bit because now they had a memory of that past, so that changed the performance. Then I went back and I got them to focus on remembering the good times, remembering how much in love they were, and thinking about what they missed. I even asked them what they missed, and they would talk about it, and then send them into the scene. And that change in subject matter and tone and focus changes the performance. Now, this technique, which you saw there, is used frequently with interrogation to get a slightly different performance. You have the actors, you have them all prepared as the characters, they're doing the scene, and between takes, you can just shift your focus to something else, some other aspect of their lives, or some other concern in their lives, or something that's important to them in their lives. And and then send them into the scene. You will get a change in the performance. That's how we get those shifts and changes. That's how we get the range of performances that we're shooting, out of which we can construct a far more interesting and nuanced and complex scene. That's what we did last week. This week, we're going to do something slightly different. Now, I've sent you all the material. I've sent you another clip, which was actually shot last year in New Zealand. But here's what we're going to do today. We're focusing again on the interrogation process and what I call the 4 variables. There are 4 aspects of this process that are always shifting and changing, that we as the interrogators, we as the directors, we as the people who are leading the interrogation have to be constantly aware of these variables that keep shifting and changing and how we want to address them or how we want to deal with them. Now, I'll take you through those 4 elements right now in the interrogation process. And then when we look at the clip from New Zealand, I will focus on those elements, those 4 elements, and how in that clip I'm shifting and adjusting and changing because of these variables. Okay, the first category, this all, by the way, should be, to all of you, very obvious and intuitive, and instinctually you will do this. But I just want to bring what's instinctual or intuitive to the surface just to look at it for the moment. Number 1, the first element obviously is the actors. You're going to go into an interrogation. You're going to go into a rehearsal, or if it's in performance, doesn't matter, either way. And you have these actors that you're working with. Now, depending on the situation, what I have to ask you is, ask you to think about, what is the relationship between me and the actors? How much do they trust me? How much do I trust them? How much do these actors actually know about the process or techniques I'm going to be using? If you've been rehearsing with these actors for a long time, using these techniques, they'll be very familiar with them, very familiar. Now, that was the situation with the clips we've seen in the past weeks from American Beauty with Rob and Corinne. They are very, very used to these techniques. They're very accustomed to them. They like them, so they sort of fall into them very, very easily. The New Zealand clip, as you will see, and I'll explain this a little bit more to you, but the New Zealand clip, these actors are being exposed to the interrogation process, this way of working, for the first time on camera. And that's what you see. There's no preparation. They know nothing before we start. They know nothing about what I'm going to do. So now that's one variable. How familiar are my actors with this way of working? If they're not familiar with it, then I have to shift my way of working. So that's one aspect of it. The second element of the variables actually is the characters. Now, the characters that they're playing, either whether it's American Beauty or Manchester by the Sea, you have to think about the characters. That's your goal. Your goal is to develop these characters. And who are these characters? And what is the relationship between the two characters? So in American Beauty, I know who these two people are. They've been married 20 years. Their marriage is falling apart. There's a lot of distrust. There's a lot of betrayal. There's a lot of stuff going on. And we're actually witnessing in this story the American family and this relationship crumbling and falling apart. While, and this is really important, while each character in American Beauty is trying to save it. Each of them in their own ways, and you see that in the scene we did, they're trying to save the marriage. Lester has his way. Let's go back to who we were. Carolyn has her way. We have to move forward and abandon who we were. Now, those are two different ways, but they have similar goals, but different ways of getting there. Knowing the characters, knowing what they want, knowing what they're dealing with. Now, that's your job, obviously. The more you know about these characters and the more work you have done on examining the characters from the script or whatever other kind of research you're going to do, and the more you've done in the rehearsal process with the actors sort of discovering the characters, the better off you're going to be. So this is a big variable. Who are these characters and what are we going for? In Manchester by the Sea, also a married couple, formerly married, now divorced. So it's another couple, but a whole different kind of situation. Their relationship has fallen apart. It has gone into divorce because of a tragedy. But these are two people, Lee and Randy, are not in the same state of mind as Lester and Carolyn. So I have to adjust my interrogation to the state of mind of the characters and how I'm working with them, because Lee and Randy, from my perspective, are dealing with something that's really painful. Painful, shame, guilt, anger, rage, the loss of 3 children that which will bond them together for their whole lives. There's a whole nother set of circumstances that they're dealing with that I have to explore. So that has to change my way of approaching them and what I'm looking for when I'm interrogating them. The third element in this is the scene itself. When we're looking at the scene, whether it's the scene about it's just a couch from American Beauty, or we're looking at the scene from Manchester by the Sea, which she says, can we have lunch? So I call it the can we have lunch scene. We look at those two scenes, and now we have to look at the scene and say, okay, what is going on in the scene that's really clear and obvious as I read it? And I'm talking about to you as directors and how you're preparing for this interrogation. What isn't there? What don't I know? What do I want to explore? What do I want to find out from the characters? So that's another variable, the scene you're actually going into. So if you're working with Lee and Randy from Manchester by the Sea, and then you switch to another scene, well, then the variables shift because of that different scene. But right now we're looking at that scene. So that's a big variable. And what do you want to get out of that scene? And in American Beauty, I see the scene, the couch scene, as two people either trying to simultaneously destroy or save each other. It's kind of brutal. It's kind of brutal. But in Manchester by the Sea, I see two people trying to save themselves. Somehow Lee is trying to protect and save himself. She's trying to save herself. She is trying to save the relationship. There's a self-protective zone or aspect of that scene, which is really powerful. And so I need to explore that. The fourth element of these variables is the environment itself. The environment mean, where are you rehearsing? What are you doing? Who else is there? What else is going on? In other words, what's the world that you're in that will affect this process? Now, if you just think about it, if you are rehearsing this way and you're rehearsing with two actors and you're in a room, in a rehearsal room, that's the environment. Just the two of you in a rehearsal room or a living room, that's it. That's what you've got. But if that even that physical environment, is it your living room? Is it a studio? Or are you, like we're doing now, doing it on Zoom? Or are you doing this on the set during production? Are there other people? Is there an entire crew there? The whole environment can shift and change. So you can see that that's a very powerful variable, which you have to keep in mind. How am I going to deal with all those aspects of what I'm doing, which can be huge obstacles or sometimes an asset to the work you're doing. To refer back to American Beauty and Manchester by the Sea, clearly there was one thing going on while I was doing both of those interrogations, which is there were film crews there. There was a film crew. You've seen the clips, and in American Beauty there was a film crew. The film crew, though, in American Beauty, they were the only other ones that were there. I was there, Elsha was there, the actors were there. The only people who were there are people who were working on recording this. And the crew were people I knew. They were friends of mine. So that makes a difference. In Manchester by the Sea, which is a totally different situation, we were on stage and there was an audience. There was an audience of actors from New Zealand, because this was a whole presentation that was done for Actors Equity Foundation in New Zealand, and a presentation about how actors can use these techniques in their work. That was the goal for the day. This is very early in the day, very, very early, right? The beginning of the day, the clip you see. So that changes. That changes the environment, and so it changes my focus on what I can do. For instance, with American Beauty, if something goes wrong, I can stop, we can start again, and we can start reshooting. In Manchester by the Sea, because it's a master class for these people for an entire day, I can't stop. I have to keep going. I can't stop. I can't stop because I'm concerned about what we have shot and I want to do it better. Can't do that. Can't do that at all. So that's a different environment. That's like working on the set and the crew is waiting and everything's set up and you're ready to shoot and you're going to do an interrogation and a lot of people are going to be watching. So those are the four variables. Now what I want to do is take a look at this scene. Here we go. Now I'm going to talk to you before the scene. This is before the scene happens. Okay? I'm going to talk to you before the scene happens. What you're going to hear a lot in this clip is me simultaneously, as I am interrogating their characters, I am simultaneously letting them know how the process works. This is the first one. This is before the scene. Oh, okay. You're the characters. All they know at this point is I'm going to talk to the characters. That's all they know. So simultaneously, as I'm interrogating, I have to bring them up to speed on, or a little bit, inform them of what I'm expecting from them as actors. And you'll also notice later, which I'll stop and make note of, I also have to remind them of things that are in the script. And I'll tell you the reason I have to remind them is these three actors who I'm working with, I hadn't met them about 15 minutes before this was shot. I met them for the first time. I did not cast them. They were cast by people out of the Equity Foundation. We're in Auckland, New Zealand. The day before, Elsha and I were in Australia, so we had just flown in the night before, and now we're doing this masterclass, and I have just met them. I've had no time to talk to them about the scene or anything that we're going to do. As I recall, when I met them in the dressing room, I said things which I will frequently say is, listen, this is just going to be an exploration. There's going to be a lot of improvisation, and trust me. Just follow me and trust me. And that's about all I have time to, and they'll all go, okay. I do know they're all very eager to do this. I do know they've all read the script and they're eager to get into the work, whatever it is. Okay, so that's the first comment, is just to remind them that this is just before the scene. So Rachel, this is your good friend? You're good for how long?
For about 5 years.
5 years. You've known her for 5 years. Okay, so you knew her when the fire happened?
No.
Oh, you met her after the fire. I see, after the fire happened. But were you in town for the fire?
No.
You weren't in, where were you?
I was away.
You were. Okay, what's important here, I have a 3-character scene, and you all know the scene. And Rachel has very little impact on the scene. She's at the beginning of the scene, and then she leaves, and that's it. But she is a member of the scene, and she does have a relationship with these other 2 people of some sort, of which I have no idea what it is, because in the script, this is the only scene that Rachel appears in. She doesn't appear at any other time in the movie, so we don't know anything about her before this or after this. I have nothing to go on. And also, Narelle playing Rachel, she has nothing to go on. All she knows is what's in the script. So I'm electing to start with her for a couple of reasons. One is I have to connect her to these other 2 people somehow, as quickly as I can. And simultaneously, because this process is new to the other actors, I'm going to use it's not really an interrogation, it's more of an interview with Narelle as Rachel, to let the other 2 actors, who are the keys characters in the scene, let them witness that. It'll actually help ease them into a process so they can see a little bit about what's going on. Away, but you live in this town.
Yes.
But you weren't here on the day that the fire happened.
No.
You were away.
Yeah.
But did you know even, you said you weren't good friends, but you knew Randy at that time?
No.
You didn't know her?
No.
Knew nothing about her. Now, I am asking a lot of questions. I am interviewing her, and simultaneously I'm building the history between her and Randy. Not in the way we did in the past weeks, not with the 2 actors working together. I could do that. I don't have time to do that right now with these 2 actors, and I don't really need to. But I'm going to build a history between Rachel and Randy, at least here, and let Randy just listen to it and have to absorb this history.
No.
Did you know Lee?
No.
You didn't know anything about Lee?
No.
Or the children?
No, I heard about it.
You just heard about the fire?
Yeah.
So how did you get connected with Randy then?
I bumped into her.
So I'm asking questions, and I have no answers to these either. And but I need her to create something so at least she'll feel like there is a character and there is a relationship. Into her.
Yeah, after.
After what? You're walking down the street and bang, you crashed into each other or something, or what? What happened?
No, we were at a place. We were at a place together.
Randy, do you remember when you first met? Now, see that look on Claire's face on the left as Randy? This is a switch. This is a switch as we talked about. Suddenly I'm switching to the other character. I will catch her off guard, but now I'm asking her to participate in the building of the history. When you first met Rachel?
Yeah. Yeah, it was in a park.
At a park,
Yeah.
okay.
And I was just sitting
You were
there.
just sitting in the park
Yeah.
and she was there?
She was, walking past.
She was walking past?
Yeah.
And did she stop and talk to you?
She dropped a hat.
She dropped a hat.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that she says she dropped a hat, and it's a question. That question mark at the end is like, will that work? Will that, you can hear the actor in there trying to create, this is an idea. What do you think about this? She's just throwing out ideas, which are fine. She dropped in front of you. She dropped her hat or something.
As she walked past.
As she walked past, she dropped your hat.
Yeah.
Did you drop that on purpose?
No.
No. Why didn't you drop your hat?
Yeah.
What's the matter with you? Why are you dropping your hat?
I'm clumsy.
You're clumsy. Okay, so she dropped her hat, and then what happened?
So I stopped her and gave it back to her, and
Oh, you stopped her and gave it back to her, and
Yeah.
that's how you first
Start talking.
yeah.
started talking.
Yeah.
And did you know who she was? I mean, you knew about the fire
Yeah.
after it was over. Did you know that? See, I have to get back to the scene, and I have to get back to the characters. Don't want to spend too much time on this little history. That's fine, but we got to get back to what's more essential in terms of these characters. This was the Randy that
Yeah, when we got talking and I found out her name, and then I knew about the fire.
you knew about the fire.
So I had that sort of newspaper story of what she would have been
Newspaper
through.
story of what had happened.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you bring it up at that first meeting?
Yeah, it's not avoidable.
It's not.
If
It's not
somebody-
avoidable.
For me, I think if somebody tells you their name and you realize that
Okay.
you know something about them.
Okay.
I-
That was okay with you, Randy?
Yeah.
I mean, do a lot of people just bring it up? Strangers bring it up? This is a stranger you met. She just brought it up?
Yeah, but she brought it up gently.
She brought it up gently.
Yeah.
And you appreciated that?
And kindly. Yeah.
And she seemed concerned
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
So it's a good friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of friends, Randy?
No, not a lot.
Since the fire? Have you lost a lot of friends?
No, I
Who
haven't.
was your best friend, Randy?
Now.
Who was? Now it's starting to shift a little bit. I'm shifting. I'm basically abandoning Rachel for the most part, shifting into Randy, and I have to start to get into some kind of interrogation here. And I have to start to explore the Randy Lee relationship in the past and in the present as well. So this is the shift into that. Best friend.
Was. Lee.
What happened to Lee? Where's Lee? Now this is a technique right here, which is pretty clear, should be obvious. Now I'm playing Mr. Innocent like I don't know anything. This is a shift you can do just to draw out more information from her. Now, she and I both know what happened to Lee, and that he left some time ago. And again, from the script, we don't have a lot of information about this. We don't know how long Lee has been gone. We don't know how long ago he left. We know it was some time ago, etc. So I'm digging, but she has more information now to write on, more than she did about Rachel.
Oh, he went away.
He ran away.
He went away.
He went away
Yeah.
because he wanted to go away? Or did you send him away, Randy? Did you want? No, now I'm implying things. Now I'm pushing her. Him to stay in town?
No.
So you sent him away?
Yeah.
You got angry at him?
Yeah.
Did you blame him for the fire?
Yeah.
Was it his fault?
I thought it was, I thought it was at the time, but it wasn't. It wasn't. No.
It wasn't his fault.
No.
But at the time you blamed him for it
Mm-hmm.
as his fault.
Mhm.
So you pushed him away.
Mhm.
Your best friend,
Yeah.
the man you were in love with,
Yeah.
the man you slept with, the man you had 3 children with,
Yeah.
and you pushed him away.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
Now that's what I'm going for right there. You talk about a shift in the character. That's what I'm going for. That litany of all I did was repeat a lot of things that are actually in the script. You send him away, the man you were in love with, the man you had 3 children with. Now it's not new information, or it shouldn't be new information to her at all. It's not new, but I'm packing a lot of information to try to get some kind of either emotional reaction or pushback. Sometimes I can do that, and you get pushback from the character, and the character will go, "Okay, enough," and to try to stop you. Whatever it is, it's fine.
I was angry with him.
But you said it wasn't his fault.
Well, I know that now. But
Well,
I didn't
whose
know
fault
at
was
the
it?
time.
Now this next section, whose fault was it? Now I'll tell you what I'm going for. I know at this moment. This gets back to the variables. I know from the script, and it's only mentioned, I think, once in the script. It's a very light mention of it, and you could easily miss it, is that the reason Lee had a fire in the fireplace to heat the house is because Randy's sinuses would get dried out from the furnace. So he would heat the house many times with the fireplace rather than with the furnace. As I'm interrogating her, of course, because I've just met her, I have no idea if that registered with her when she read it, if she knows that, she may or may not. I'm not going to stop and remind her of it as director to actor, but I have to make sure that it gets in there. So this is what happens.
It was no one's fault. It was an accident.
Do you know why he had the fire in the fireplace, Randy? Why did he have the fire in the fireplace?
To keep his family warm.
Keep his family warm. Why didn't he turn on the furnace, Randy? You have a furnace in that house and he did not turn it on. That would have warmed up the house. Why didn't he do that, Randy?
Saving money.
No, she says saving money. So at that moment, I know she doesn't know. She does not know. And what you don't want to do is stop the interrogation and give her the piece of information. You don't want to do that. You want to, now you have to get that information into the interrogation. So this is a matter of some of these variables I was talking about. Here's a piece of information this character is not aware of that I want them to be aware of. Sometimes like this, it'll be a piece of information that is actually in the script. But sometimes it'll be a piece of information that you are going to create that is not in the script. But not this time, it's in the script. Because you complain about it, because your sinuses get all dried out, so he switched to the fire. Now you got to watch her now. Now she's just been hit with the information. So whose fault was the fire? Just watch her. Why did you push him away, Randy? You loved him. He loved you. And he loved those children. What she's really doing, I think, I didn't ask her afterwards, what she's really doing is processing the new information. The new information that it's because of her that he had graciously built the fire. In fact, maybe this fire is more her fault than his fault, whatever. But she's processing something. There are several things you can do while the character is processing this information. One is you could go silent and just let the silence sort of hang there. In other words, I could have said to her, so whose fault was the fire, Randy? And just stopped and let it hang and let her sit with whatever's going on. Or you could do what I'm doing here as I see it going on, and I'm just going to keep piling. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep giving her more information. I'm going to keep piling things on top of that, staying in the same zone on top of that to enhance or solidify whatever's going on inside her. You miss him? Now, the you miss him is a switch. I've got her deep into something. My feeling is she's probably not going to say much of anything, so I'm just going to switch out of it and leave her with whatever those feelings are.
Yeah.
Yeah? You miss him? And now I'm going to leave her totally with whatever's going on. And if you watch these last couple of shots of her as I switch over to Lee, you'll see whatever's going, there's something going on inside her. This is what Beth was talking about in her notes about the shifts, the changes. There's something going on, and I'm just going to let her sit with it. Now I need that for the scene. If she has that going on inside her as she comes into the scene, the feeling of guilt and responsibility and what if, we all know what that's like. We've all been through very tragic situations and unfortunate situations or disasters. We've all had to deal with the what if, the whole thing of what if I didn't do this? What if I didn't say that? I'm sure Randy's character, ever since that fire, every day, I would still have my 3 children if I had only done this. She can, of course, blame Lee a lot if he had done this, but now she's in a situation, if I had done something differently, if I had not asked for the fire, whatever. And that's where I want her in that state of mind, that questioning, that struggling, that chaos inside her. If we can bring that into the scene, something is going to happen. So why'd you leave, Lee? Now just look at that face. Now this is what I find really interesting about this shot right here. But look at her face. Look at Randy's face. And look at Rachel. Rachel is obviously very focused on me and the interrogation of Lee. But Randy is totally focused inside, and that's where I want her. This is the town you were born and raised in. This is where you met Randy. Fell in love. Yes? Yep. Wonderful relationship. Laughing.
No,
Three
no.
great kids.
Now, one little note here. Obviously, during this whole interrogation or the interview with Rachel, then the interrogation of Randy, Mel, who's playing Lee, the actor, Lee has been standing right there, listening to everything. So that the fact that he's standing there and listening and seeing Randy's struggle with her own guilt or shame or anger or rage or disappointments, or even hearing, yes, I still miss him. No, it's not really his fault. All of that is helping him. So I know I have at least achieved that so far. Also, as the actor, he has seen enough of the interrogation process to get an idea how it works or what could happen, that I'm eventually going to come to him.
Tragedy happens and you leave? Why?
There wasn't any room for me there anymore.
Wait, there wasn't any room for you? What do you mean?
Yeah, I just needed some new space.
You needed some new space. But Lee, this is what you always do, isn't it? You get scared, you run.
No,
No, you don't run.
no.
Okay, two other notes here. One, that last shot you can, with Randy, just the fact that now Randy, Claire, as Randy is hearing this interrogation, which is only, it's going to compile the chaos within her. It's going to be, it'll be effective just because she's hearing this. Second thing, as I said, I met these actors, 10 or 15 minutes earlier, and Mel, who's a terrific actor, is a very, very, very vocal, rambunctious, enthusiastic guy. That's what I met. And I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting to see what happens. So when I start interrogating him here as Lee, I'm wonderfully surprised by this guy who has gone so internal so rapidly and is struggling to find his way out, which is very much who Lee is. By the way, prior to this interrogation, we did read the scene once. So I had a general idea of where they were going, but that's all we did. It was just one sort of cold reading. Okay, you don't write this. So usually when you're scared, you will face what's really going on.
Yeah.
You'll face the truth.
As best as I can.
As best as you can. You won't run away.
No.
I see. But this time you went all the way to Boston and you haven't been back.
No.
Now, again, I just want to reiterate, this time you went all the way to Boston and you haven't been back. That is me jamming information, historical information, background history information into the interrogation, just to make sure that we are both clear on exactly what has been going on. Your brother had a heart attack some years ago. You came to visit quickly and went back to Boston.
Yeah, well.
Now, that is barely in the script. It's in the script. It's really important. It's in the script. That's another thing that could have been missed by him. I don't know. So I remind him of it. I like this whole process of reminding them of what's happened to them as the character in the interrogation, because the only reaction I will get to that information is from the character, not from the actor.
I've got things to do.
You know Randy's in this town, don't you?
Yeah.
The woman you loved, your ex-wife, mother of your children,
Yeah.
who sadly died. Now there I go again, repeating a lot of stuff. I'm just piling stuff on him. And a fire. Whose fault was the fire, Lee? Now remember, he heard the whole thing with Randy. Lee, whose fault was the fire?
It was mine.
It was your fault.
Yeah.
Why? What were you doing?
I started a fire.
You started a fire, but you'd been drinking that night with your buddies.
We've been doing all sorts of stuff.
You've been doing drugs that night too? A lot of drugs, a lot of drinking. And then you decided to leave the house to go get what? Get more beer? You wanted more beer?
Yeah.
You needed more beer, Lee? In the middle of the night? What do you need more beer for?
Who doesn't need more beer?
That line, who doesn't need more beer, I think is great, because to me, that's Lee. That is Lee. It's a beautiful response. That's your answer? Who doesn't need more beer?
Yeah, well,
I was getting milk and some other groceries and stuff.
Oh, yeah, whoopee. So you're getting milk and some other groceries, but you're really going to get the beer because that's what you want, because you want to come home and drink some more. Are you pissed off at Randy that she sent your friends away?
No.
You're not.
No, no.
You were having a good time.
Yeah, we were having a good time. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. She was right.
Oh, she was right.
Yeah.
And so 2 o'clock in the morning, still you need more beer.
Yeah.
For what?
I just needed some fresh air to get out.
Oh, fresh. You need fresh air. That's not beer,
No.
Lee. Fresh air, you could just step outside the house and get fresh air. But you went and walked all the way to the store.
Yeah.
Because you're too drunk to drive.
Yeah.
Good. What kind of a father are you?
A big part of the interrogation, a big part of the voices that I speak, that you hear, are the voices that are in the character's head, or otherwise known as the committee. These questions that I'm asking the characters, or I'm implying to the characters, are the voices that I think that are in their head. Those are the questions, those are the voices that they can't stop. Those are the voices that are driving both of them into the guilt, into the shame, into the anger, into the rage. What if I done this? What if I done that? Why didn't I go this? Why didn't I do this? And I hear from him, the other voices, well, I just needed some air. I said, well, you could have just had air outside the house. Those are the voices. And so it's out of that confluence of voices that the emotions will start to emerge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were beautiful kids, weren't they?
The best kids.
They're the best.
Now there's a switch. It's a big switch. Suddenly, after pushing, switch to something else. Now I'm trying to connect him with the children, obviously.
They were happy. Happy kids. Kind of a challenge for you. Yeah. Were you a good,
Kind of challenge, yeah.
the best kind of challenge? Yep. If you see Randy again, what are you going to say to her?
Now, I'm getting closer to the scene. I've got to get them ready for the scene. But what I really want to know is what state of mind or emotional state the two of them are in prior to the scene. Now, this scene is very unique in some ways. Go back to the American Beauty scene. Lester sitting at home, and it almost feels like he's set a trap for her with the car outside. Also, Carolyn in American Beauty is coming home. She knows her husband's probably going to be home. She sees the car. She comes into that scene ready for a confrontation. So that's two people coming into a scene with a plan, with an idea, with an intention. This scene, what's really unique about this scene is these two people literally run into each other. They're not looking for each other at the moment. In fact, he's really been avoiding her for a long time. She's not really looking for him, although she says, yes, she would like to talk to him. The question is, what state of mind are they in relationship to each other prior to the scene?
Lee, she's in town. You saw her at Joe's funeral. She was at the funeral. She was very pregnant. She's had the baby by now, obviously. What are you going to say to her?
See, I'm even there. You saw her at the funeral. She was very pregnant. I'm just reminding him of things that are actually in the script.
What do you want to say to her?
What
Do you
can
want to
say
see her? She's in town. I know you have to stay in town because of Patrick and all that, but do you want to see Randy?
Yeah.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
Well, no. But you know she's in town. This is a small town, Lee. You know where she lives.
Mhm.
I know she's married. She has a baby now and all that. Do you want to see her? Why not go see her? Why not call her? Have you called her?
No.
But you just said you want to see
I
her.
saw her at the funeral.
You saw her at the funeral. Yes. And
her family, and she's moving on. She doesn't need me now. So
no, wait. She doesn't need you now?
no.
That's what she told you?
No.
She didn't tell you that.
It's obvious, isn't it? I mean, she's.
What do you mean it's obvious?
What does she need? Somebody that.
I find this fascinating. He does this a few times. When I press him in terms of what he's going to do, he will say, well, she doesn't need this. She doesn't need this from me and all of that. That way of deflecting where I'm going, trying to get me off of where I'm going and actually giving himself an excuse. And that is a voice in his head. She doesn't need me. She doesn't need me. She's married. She has a child. It's better if I just disappear. Maybe it's better if I die. I don't know.
You were
Killed
the
her
father
children.
of her children.
And I also killed her children. You know, I mean, what do you want me to say? I mean, what does someone who murders their kids say to the woman?
Oh, you think you murdered her?
Well, what else?
I don't know. Now, this is interesting. This will happen to you sometimes in interrogation, where it brings up another very important issue, but where the character will start to attack. He's actually attacking me. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? What do you want? You know, you'll get pushback. It's good. It's good. How you handle the pushback is really, really important. First of all, if I start to defend myself, I'm really in trouble. I can't do that. The best way to deal with the pushback is either just keep going on the line of questioning that you're doing or switch to another one. You don't want to allow the character to turn you into a character in his life. Right at the moment, you're not. Right at the moment, I'm not a character in his life at all. I'm a voice in his head, and he's accepting it that way, even though these actors knew nothing about this process prior to this, which is interesting to watch because they're responding fine. They're accepting the process very easily. But a defense to being pushed into the corner as the character is the character comes out fighting, and the character will try to turn you into a character. And if you allow that to happen, you're in deep trouble, because I'm going to tell you something right now. These actors, like these three actors and most actors I've worked with, are better interrogators than you are. And once you get to the point where they start interrogating you and you're responding under their interrogation, you're gone, you're done. Now, the reason you're done is because they have turned you into a character, and they have turned you into something that they can now handle, and they can actually shut you up. They can turn you off. Many times they will push back. That's a great place to have them, because you know that they are struggling with whatever is going on inside. It's really going on in chaos, and they want to get out of this. I'm just listening to the words you're using, Lee. So you're a murderer. Should you be in jail? Would you be happier in jail? Why don't you contact Randy? You miss her?
Yeah.
You miss the life you had?
Yeah, of course I do.
Of
course. I mean, who wouldn't? Yeah.
I don't know. There he goes again. Now we've got who wouldn't miss her and who wouldn't need a drink. Okay, everybody needs a drink.
I need a drink.
Oh, you need a drink. Okay, so why not contact her, and why not just see her and tell her, I miss you? Why not do that?
Because
Lee, why not? What the hell are you afraid of? What are you afraid of, Lee?
Nothing.
Nothing. Well, if you're not afraid of anything, you told me you're really good at standing up and facing a confrontation when it happens. You told me you don't run away. And right now, she's in the town, and you're in town, and you're running away from her.
No, I'm not running.
Oh, you're not running away from her. That little litany that I just did, reminding them of things that they said earlier that you can use to help make your point. You said you could stand up. You're not afraid of her. Actually, he agreed to that only a little bit when we did it earlier, just a little bit. But I am going to expand on it. I'm making it a larger thing so I can push him to deal with his internal struggle of here he is, this big, strong guy who can handle just about anything and can't even talk to his ex-wife. Oh, you're busy. You're a busy guy. Yeah, and doing what? What the hell are you doing that makes it so busy you can't go and spend 5 minutes with your ex-wife and just talk to her and tell her whatever you want to tell her? She does need you, Lee. Now there's a shift. There's a shift there. And it's sort of based on his 2 times earlier. She doesn't need this. She doesn't need this. She doesn't want this. I'm shifting it to now I'm speaking for her. Now, the interesting thing is in the interrogation earlier with Randy, he heard this, that she would like to talk to him. What would you like to tell her? What are you afraid to tell her? If I told you, Lee, that you could tell her anything you want. Okay, now I really hope all of you recognize that line. What would you like to tell her? If I told you that you could tell her anything you want, for those of you who don't recognize that line, that's the beginning of the setup. I'm getting closer to getting them into simultaneous monologues, preparing them for simultaneous monologues. I need to now, again, get Lee to commit to telling her something. Now, you got to realize this is two characters who haven't talked to each other in, over 5 years, except at the funeral, which was very superficial. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. And that's it. But now I'm going to want them to talk to each other, and I'm going to try to get him to agree to tell her the things that he's been telling me he can't do it, he can't do it, he can't do it. So this is the beginning of the setup. Nothing bad would happen. What would you tell her?
I'm sorry.
That's it? Do you still love her?
Yeah.
Would you tell her that? Now, this is another process of the setup. When you're dealing, I'm dealing here, I just want to make something very clear. I'm dealing here with a problem character, not a problem actor, a problem character, a good actor. And this is Lee. Lee, as you know, from, if you've seen the movie, read the script, or whatever, is a very isolated, shut down character, frightened character who doesn't want to take any responsibility, doesn't want to connect with anybody. So that's what I'm seeing. In other words, the character that I'm seeing in Mel, the Lee that I'm seeing, I'm going, that's Lee. So I'm battling Lee right now. I'm battling Lee. And when you're trying to set them up to want, for the monologues, to want to say things or agree to say things to the other character, many times I will have to spoon feed a line to them, even one line at a time. Could you agree to this? Could you agree to that? Even to get him to say yes will be an accomplishment. Could you tell her? Could you just say that much? Do you miss her?
Yeah.
Could you tell her that?
No,
No?
she doesn't need that. I mean,
No. Forget what she needs. I'm talking about you, Lee. I'm giving you an opportunity to tell her what you're really feeling. Can you tell her that? Do you miss the kids?
yeah.
All three of them?
Well,
Could you tell her that? Lee,
no.
Mr. Brave Lee can stand up to anything. Can't tell her that? Why not?
She doesn't need to hear that.
No, I'm not talking about her, Lee. You keep doing that. I'm talking about you. Do you have the courage to just tell your ex-wife how you're feeling? Not that she doesn't know. She doesn't need to hear it. You need to say it. Could you just do that? Randy, what do you want to tell? Now, that's as much of an agreement as I got out of him, but I'm going to go with it. Your ex-husband, what do you want to tell Lee if you ever get an opportunity?
I want to tell him that it wasn't his fault and that he needs to forgive himself.
Okay. What else? Are you going to tell him that you have stopped blaming him?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell him that part of the blame is on you? Could you do that, Randy?
Yeah.
Could you? Do you have the courage to do that? I'm promising you nothing bad will happen if you tell him.
I don't know.
Do you want the opportunity to talk to him?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much.
Well, then you better have some idea what the hell you want to say, because you're probably going to get one shot at this, Randy.
Yeah.
And my suggestion is give it all you got. Take the risk. Randy, could things get any worse between you?
No.
So then what are you risking? Not much. Okay. Could you? Okay. Now we're going to go into the simultaneous monologues. I'm just going to compare this to American Beauty. Nothing to do with the actors. Nothing at all. Everything to do with the characters. The two characters in American Beauty, as we were set up simultaneous monologues, they would very, very passionately tell me what they wanted to say to each other. They would go on for paragraphs because they were full of that energy, full of that desire, full of the desire to make a change, cause a change in the other person. So they were very vocal about it. These two characters are not. These two characters are isolated, hidden, frightened, angry, hurting, desperate characters who, even though they've been in the same town for months now, have not talked to each other. They used to be married. They had 3 children. A tragedy happened. We know all of that. And they are in such pain that they stay isolated from each other. It takes a moment like this of running into each other on a street corner to actually have them look at each other and maybe even talk to each other. So my asking them what they want to say to each other, I'm really getting from both of them, yeah, I'd like to say this, but no, I can't. No, I can't. And no, I can't. So I have a challenge here. Well, the first challenge is get them into the simultaneous monologues. Regardless, get them into it. Have them face it. If I walk away from it, if I abandon it, they win. I don't want them to win. I want them to go through the experience and the pain and maybe even the discovery of what will happen if they do actually talk to each other. Just come right, stand right about there. And no, right about here. Or just looking at each other. Now, they have no idea what simultaneous monologues are at this point. They've never seen it, they've never heard about it. And here's what we're going to do. When I say start, Randy, you're going to tell him everything you want to tell him. Everything that's in your heart, the stuff that scares you, the stuff that infuriates you, how much you miss him, how much you love him, how angry you were at him, anything. Okay, now just be very clear, this is not a dialogue, this is a monologue. Okay, at the same time, Lee, you're going to tell her exactly how you feel about her, right? The things you just talked about, that you miss her, miss the children. Do you want her back? Do you want her back, Lee?
Yeah.
You do? Can you tell her that too?
No.
Okay. What do you mean no? Big, brave Lee can't even say the words. Okay, this is 2 monologues, okay? When I say start, 2 monologues going on at the same time. You ready? Okay, and start.
Yeah,
I just want to make one little side note. One of the things I love about actors is their depth of honesty when they're in the character. That I can ask Lee, I'm asking Mel as Lee, does he want her back? And he goes, yeah. Can you tell her that? No. Now that's the truth. And ironically, he's standing right in front of her and she's hearing all of that. And of course he knows that, but his system, the actor's system, which is wonderful, can distinguish the difference between talking to me and answering that and then turning and looking at her, knowing that if he looks at her, he's not going to be able to do it, even though she has heard that he misses her. And that, to me, it's a wonderful sort of zone of integrity and honesty that an actor can get into with a character, which is actually quite beautiful.
need you to know that I don't blame you for what happened. It wasn't your fault. You made a mistake, that's all.
Really.
And I just see that you're in such a...
Okay, let's stop for a second. How's it going, Lee?
Not good.
Not good. I haven't heard one word that I recognize as a word. I've heard little grunts and groans. What's happening? You what?
I don't have anything I can.
You said a lot of things. Do you miss her? Can you tell her that? Are you sorry for what happened? Can you tell her that? Do you miss the children? This is all good stuff, Lee. Can you tell her that? Do you want her back?
No.
Can you tell her that? There's like 4 good things. How's it going for you?
Okay,
Okay. Are you saying everything you want to say?
I'm starting to.
You're starting to. How long is it going to take, Randy, to get there? No, it's not going to take a while because you don't have a while.
Okay.
You got to go for it. Okay, ready? And go.
Lee, I'm sorry. I need you to know that I don't blame you for what happened. It wasn't your fault, and I need you to forgive yourself, because you can't carry on like this.
I'm so sorry.
I know you are, and I just,
No
I want
dialogue,
you to
2
know.
monologues. Go. Tell him what you want to tell him, Randy.
I just want you to know that I love you. I mean, I've always
Come on,
loved
Lee,
you, and
can
I
do it.
can't,
Tell her what you want her to
I
hear.
can't bear to see you in so much pain.
I'm just sorry.
It was the most unimaginable thing, and I know we'll never be the same again, but we have to move forward, you know, we have to live our lives somehow.
I could do anything.
Blame you, I don't blame you. I did, but I don't now, and I just need you to know that. I need you to
Okay.
know, forgive yourself.
One last statement from Randy to Lee. You ready? Go.
I need you to forgive yourself.
One last statement from Lee to Randy. Go.
So sorry.
Okay, back up a little bit. When I say action, just start the scene.
Okay, so we're about to go into the scene. So I'm sure that this looks very different to you, hopefully it does, than what we've looked at before. Different scene, different circumstances, different actors, obviously. The actors are, from my perspective, responding very well to the process. They're both very, very deep into the character, my belief. The fact that Lee can't say anything actually, to me, in a way, seems perfect, because he doesn't even want to see her. She does want to see him. She would like to see him. So what's coming out of them, to me, perfectly mirrors what's going on in the scene. So the big question now is using the scene itself to see what we've accomplished and where we are. Okay, so let's look at the scene.
Lee, hi.
Hi.
Rachel, this is Lee. Lee, Rachel,
Hello.
and this is Dylan. Can't see him too good.
Hey, Dylan. It's very handsome.
Randy, you want me to go get the car? I'll just be back in a couple of
No,
minutes.
that's okay.
Yeah,
I've
sure.
got to go anyway.
Oh, well, could could we just talk for a second?
I'll just pull around. I'll just be like 2 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
I'll be right back.
I don't have anything big to say. I just,
It's okay.
I know you've been around, and I thought, well, you know, we never.
I just been helping Patrick settle in.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he seems like he's doing pretty well under the circumstances.
Yeah, I think he is.
I mean, I guess you probably didn't know I really kept in touch with Joe, so it's been kind of weird for me not seeing
Yeah, no,
Patrick since he
I
passed
knew
away.
that, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I know you can still see him. I've got no.
Could we ever have lunch?
Us? Me and you?
Yeah. Because I mean, I said a lot of terrible things to you, and I know you never. I mean, maybe you don't want to talk to me. No,
No, it's not.
but
that.
let me finish. However, my heart was broken. It's always going to be broken, and I know your heart is broken too. But I don't have to carry. I said things to you that I should fucking burn in hell for what I said, but it was just.
No, I can't.
I'm just sorry.
I can't.
I love you. Maybe I shouldn't say that, and I'm sorry.
No, you can say that. No, yeah. I've got to go. I'm
You know
sorry.
what? We couldn't have lunch.
You know, I'm really sorry, but I don't think so.
You can't just die.
I'm not.
But
I
honey, I
just
see
can't.
you walking around like this, and I just want to tell you.
I'm so happy for you, and I would want to talk to you, but I can't.
Yeah, but Lee, you gotta. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to torture you, but I just need you to know that I
You're
was
not-
wrong.
You're not, and I've got nothing to look. Thank you for saying everything, but there's nothing there.
Oh, that's not true. That can't be
I don't
true.
think you understand.
Of course, I understand.
Look, I know you understand. I've got to go. I'm sorry, yeah?
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
There is nothing that I can... I've got to go, yeah? Sorry.
Okay, stay in character. Lee, come back. Here. A little closer. 2 monologues again. Right at this point, after the scene's over. What I need from you now. Go. Randy, both of you. Randy, what I need from you now.
I need to try again. Can't we try again, because you've got to find a way through. You've got to.
I need you to just focus on these guys. Josh and Dylan and
Okay, one last statement. Randy?
I need you to know I love you.
Lee?
thank you for saying things you said.
Okay, we're going to stop now. Thank you. Very nice. Okay, so that's the scene. Good time for Q&A if you have Q&A. Any comments, thoughts?
Hi, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So my question to you is, why do you have them make that final statement at the end of the scene? What is it? What do you feel like that does to the process, the helping the actors, or what?
Well, yeah, it's a good question, Julia, and it is to help the actors, but it is also to help me. I'm always curious after a scene goes on like that, especially that scene, and the two of them walk away from each other. What's going on inside the characters at that moment? In other words, what is the legacy of the scene? I'm also using it to sort of explore, in my way of working, what have we accomplished? We did all this interrogation, simultaneous monologues, put them through the scene where they're controlled by the dialogue in the scene. Where are they now at the end? What has the transformation been? Also, I think, and this is from me working as an actor, especially if you go through an emotional scene like that, to all of a sudden say, cut, stop, and then you're left there sort of vibrating like, no, what do I do with all these feelings? It would be nice to have a way to express what's going on, to deal with what's going on. And so I bring them together and to do that, to say what they need from each other. And it's always the same question, what I need from you now, and not what I think of you now, or not. In other words, so it's very self-reflective. Here's what I need. It's interesting what she said. I need to talk to you. I still need to talk to you. She's talking about her need to talk. So if they can focus on that. He didn't go to the need. He just went to, thank you.
Thank you, because I think what he needs is too big for him to address right now. So that's what I get out of it. So it's sort of a decompression moment. Marilyn, you have your hand up?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
You said that you did a run through of the scene before you did the interrogation. Did you actually record that? And were there any differences, huge differences in the way they read it the first time and after the interrogation?
Yeah, yes, I did record it. We recorded the whole day. The reading beforehand, it was interesting because I said, okay, we're just going to read the scene. I want you to stay standing. I don't want you to sit down. And I basically said, you're here, you're here, you're here. The staging, which is very simple, and just read the scene. And the reading of the scene was pretty much a typical first reading of the scene. There was some emotion in it, but nowhere near what happened in this one. It was sort of a mechanical reading of the scene, which to me was fine. Louis, you have a question.
There we go. More of an observation, if I'm honest. So when I was cutting it, one of the things that sort of jumped out at me was after interrogating Rachel and moving on to Randy, there's a lovely little piece where Rachel puts her hand on Randy's arm as a sort of support when you're doing that sort of build around the fire, and then the minute that you implant that it might have been Randy's fault, hand comes away and Randy's just left there. And I just love, as a little piece for me, that was just lovely, because no one's asking for that at all. This is just, and that for me was underlined how simple and beautiful this technique can be.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm now going to have to watch it again to see that, because I didn't notice that moment, Louis, but thank you for that. My guess is because Narelle, as Rachel, was learning, as you could see, we created that relationship there, whatever the history was, and that they had talked about the fire, and they had talked about that. Now my guess is, in terms of Rachel's thinking, when she hears that it could have been Randy's fault, Rachel's thinking, I'm guessing that Rachel is thinking, she didn't tell me that. She didn't tell me that she had a problem with the furnace. That was left out of the story. Not that the whole story was blaming Lee, but that one little piece of information was not in it. And that would cause the hand to go, ooh.
Yeah, and when we're talking about finding authentic performances, it's those little nuances for me that I'm looking for when I'm looking through both sides of any sort of shot. I'm often cutting to text to audio and then switching that layer off and then looking for the reaction to see what the alternatives are always.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of the conversation I had with Paul Sater, who was Tin Cup, that film Tin Cup. I don't know if you remember it.
I love that film.
Okay. And he was showing me a scene where the actress, now I'm trying to remember the actress was in it, doesn't matter, between Kevin Costner and the female lead. And there was a moment in it, there was a startling moment in this thing. And he said to me, that's the only time she ever did that, in that one take. And this is really what you're talking about, when there's that one little piece of behavior that's so startling because it's so authentic. And I think that is what we're going for. And what I'm going for is to have every take full of those moments and never ask them to repeat them. I mean, as soon as you get your script supervisor say, oh, you put your hand there, don't do that, because then it becomes mechanical and it's not authentic anymore. Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Louis. Any other questions? I know a lot of you online do have these skills and have been using them. And so I thank you for being here and wanting to learn more. But there are a lot of you who are just starting out and want to learn these. As we said before, the only way to really learn how to do these techniques, to use these techniques effectively in your work, is you have to practice, you have to rehearse. It's like learning to play the piano, a musical instrument, a foreign language, anything. You have to put in the work, but you have to put in a lot of work practicing, be willing to fail, learning from your failures. And this is what the Director's Lab, which I've mentioned before, is really all about, is we've created a space where you can do this, and this is where you can do it. And I'm guiding you through the process. So you can actually try, you have to try with actors, try it, fail, hear the corrections, try it again, try it another way until you get it into your system. The other question that came up is, because I brought up something else, someone said, is there any end to the variations on interrogation? And my only answer is no, it doesn't stop. It keeps going on and on. But I can tell you this, as you start to acquire these skills, as you start to try it out, you will discover things as you go along, just like I have been for years discovering new things that I'm teaching you and showing you. You will discover things and you will develop your own style of interrogation, your own approach to interrogation, just by practicing on and on. And you will discover, hey, there's another idea. Here's another possibility. I pretty constantly have directors say, can I use it this way? These are directors who are using it. What would happen if I used it this way? What would happen if I combined these two things together? Would that work? And sometimes we have discussions. Sometimes I go, I don't know. I never thought of that. So it keeps opening up more possibilities. Now, I'm going to give you one technique. I'm just going to mention it now. We can't do it now. We can't do it next week either. But there's a technique within this that you will understand just by me explaining it to you. It doesn't mean you'll be able to do it, but I can explain it to you. First of all, you know what interrogation is. You've seen that. You saw that in this clip. You know what simultaneous monologues are. You've seen that. So you say, okay, I got that idea. You know what building history is. You've seen that. You know what checking in is. That's what Julia asked before about the end, at the end. You know what checking in with the characters just to see where they are emotionally is. And you also obviously know what just running the scene is, running the scene just to see what you have accomplished or what you have achieved. You know, so those are 5 elements of the interrogation process. This technique, which is called breaking out. It's called breaking out. And the reason it's called breaking out, or doing a breakout, is switching from one of those 5 to the other unannounced. Unannounced. This is another way of switching. So I could be interrogating 2 actors and then suddenly go, simultaneous monologues, go. And they know they just need to start talking to each other about what is going on with them in that moment. And they'll start to do that. Then I can break out of that and say, read the scene. And now they'll be jammed into the scene. Now I can break out of the scene even in the middle of the scene and stop them. And say, okay, what I need from you now. Now I'm doing a check-in. In other words, these 5 different ways of working don't have to have smooth transition. You can shift back and forth. That shift and back and forth will start to open up new possibilities, new information, new experiences. Now that's a more sophisticated use of these techniques. That is all handled in the Director's Lab. I don't handle it in this course, but this is the way, and this has come out from a lot of directors trying these different ways. What would happen if I do this? What would happen if I do that? What would happen if I suddenly said, read the scene? I say, try it, do it. So as you're working on this, as you're experimenting with, as you're exploring it, you will hopefully, ideally, this is the golden moments, get the idea. Wait a minute, I think I could do something else here. I have another idea. That's the golden moment. That's when you feel it is yours, it belongs to you, and you have acquired enough skills to be able to start to play with it. That's how that works. I have a lot of information on the Director's Lab, which I can't go through right now, but I can send it to you. We'll be sending it out soon. If you want, I'm just a request, put in the chat right now. If you're interested in receiving, if you'd like to receive information about the Director's Lab, I'll tell you a little bit about it now. Just put in the chat lab or director's lab. That's all you have to do, and then I'll make sure you get it. The director's lab is going to start in January. The director's lab is limited to 4 to 6 directors. That's it. That's it. It goes on for 8 weeks. It goes on for 8. It's going to be on a Saturday, 8 Saturdays, and each session is 3 hours. So it's basically 24 hours of opportunity, training, rehearsal, working, and I can explain to you more how it's going to work. You will be working with actors. You will be working with scripts, scenes that you have chosen if you're in the lab. So if you're interested in that, I can send you more information on how it's going to work and what you need to do to sign up. Because it's a small group, it's a very small, it's only work with 4 is just enough. Can go as much as 6, so it's going to be somewhere in there to be able to handle everybody. And it's very intense work because you get a lot of personal time in there. You get at least a half an hour of personal time each week, and a lot of work in between. But that I can explain later. So if you're interested, put it in the chat. Just write in there lab or director's lab or something that reminds me, and then I'll just send you the information on what it's going to be. Just know that it starts in January, near the end of January, and goes into the middle of March, something like that. And it's a great opportunity. It's a lab that we've done before. We usually do it on site. We don't do it on Zoom. This time it'll be on Zoom, which is actually great. I think it's going to be even more exciting on Zoom. First of all, we can include anybody anywhere in the world. You don't have to be here in Los Angeles. That's the problem with doing on-site stuff here in Los Angeles or in New Zealand or wherever we are, is you have to be there. This one, all you have to do is be in front of your computer and it will work. Benedict mentioned with TG13, or there's a group here in Los Angeles that Sean Cunningham, who is in this class, started, called Sandbox. And these are groups that initially were created to study these techniques on your own. You can do that. And then there are some people I work with that is just one-on-one private consulting. If you're interested in that, you can let me know and I can give you more information on how that works. So my encouragement is to keep going. Now, a lot of it is up to you. And this is why I wanted to talk to you today about the variables. About, as you can see, you have to be really prepared to do this. Besides knowing the techniques and being skilled at interrogation, you really have to be prepared. You can't just go in and wing it. And one thing I hope you really understand is that this process of working with actors is more powerful for you than probably any other way of working with actors. Certainly more powerful than result directing and things like that. Way more powerful, because your energy, your attitude, your point of view, your tone shifts and changes the actors, the characters so profoundly, because they become so dependent on you, on your voice, just hearing you talk to them, hearing you question them, that you can, just by your tone, actually shift what's going on inside them and send them into the scene. Way more powerful. And the interesting thing is, this way of working gives you a lot of control. A lot of control. It's not the control of demanding what you want. It's the control of stimulating what you want. And ironically, but beautifully, the actors never feel like they lose control. They feel like they are in control. They don't feel like they're being manipulated. They don't feel like they're being forced to do anything. They feel like they are totally in control because they are actually in the movement, the wave, and the energy of the characters. So everybody is very happy in their little areas of control. So I'm encouraging you to keep going forward. Now, we're at the end of the session now, and we'll meet next week. Next week, we have a big surprise for you. I will be sending you some information about that. We are going back to look at a little bit of American Beauty and what we've done with those scenes. And that's it. Unless there are any final questions, and I can see that Carl has his hand up, so I will. Yes, Carl, unmute yourself and we'll deal with your question.
Yeah, just I wanted to kind of reiterate some, a little bit of an experience that I had with the students. So it was particular. It was a scene from Lady Bird, and so we have the mother and the daughter, and the father's in the scene, and he pretty much says nothing, but it was quite crucial within that scene. So when they did the first run, he took on almost a comedic kind of sense of the actual scene. But then when we went into a spontaneous monologue and interrogation process and did all of that work, it really had a dramatic effect because it gave the actor, who has pretty much no dialogue, an opportunity to express exactly what was going through him as the father. And it just had an amazing response, and it had a wonderful reaction to the actor that was playing the daughter. And so she was kind of feeling a lot more protected, and it had a really marked effect on the mother. And the scene was just outstanding. It was wonderful. And so the students absolutely love your process. They can't get enough of it.
Great.
They really can't.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Carl. Yeah, and I've seen that happen. I've had that experience. One of the most difficult things to do is work with actors who are in a scene and have nothing to say, and seemingly have very little invested in the scene. But through the interrogation and simultaneous monologues, they realize how much they do have invested, and that they do have a lot to say, even if they don't say it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. Beautiful.
Just a quick one there, and it's probably, I used a staging technique as well. One of you in your, this is something separate, but I used a staging technique whereby I placed the father in between the mother and the daughter, and that facing the mother. So with your, obviously with your staging kind of side of things, that too had a profound effect throughout the entire process, which was phenomenal. It was fantastic. Anyway.
That's great. Fantastic. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. Okay, and I thank all of you for being here today. It's good to see all of you. I will check the chat later. Write to me if you want emails, if you have more questions or stuff, and I will write back to you. And now I am signing off. I'll let you sign off individually as wherever you go, whatever you do. And I will see you in 1 week for our final session. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Everyone. Have a good week.